International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola today participating in a symposium in Cape Town on South Africa's national interests and global achievements. Plenty, of course, to be expected insofar as this is concerned. Seeing now walking off the podium was his deputy. He's now taken to the podium. A good time for us to dip in and listen through what he has to say.
Yeah, thank you very much, DM Bozos, the DG of the department, Mr. Dengo, and all senior managers of the department, members of the diplomatic corps, ambassadors, consulars, and everyone who's here, business leaders and civil society, religious leaders, and all the participants this morning. It's a great pleasure for me to be here to engage with yourself on the eve of the budget vote of the Department of International Relations happening this afternoon at 4:30 in Parliament. And to give you a glimpse of South Africa's thinking on global affairs. Firstly, we have just emerged from peaceful elections which all South Africans stood together to vote for a government of their choice. And the President has constituted a cabinet on the basis of the will of the South Africans. What has informed the governments of the day, and all political parties have recommitted themselves to the constitution of our country, which calls on us in the preamble to work for the common good of our country and to address the imbalances of the past. The statement of intent of the Government of National Unity also commits itself to a foreign policy based on human rights, constitutionalism, the national interest, solidarity, peaceful resolution of conflict, and to achieve the Africa Agenda 2063, South to South, North and South and African cooperation, multilateralism, a just, peaceful, and an equitable world. This is what will guide us in the 7th administration as we navigate the uncharted waters of global affairs. Societies worldwide are grappling with existential challenges, including climate change, disruptive artificial intelligence technology, geopolitical fragmentation, illegal migration, the rising cost of living, inequality, social cohesion, and insecurity. These issues have brought about social instability across the borders of our country. To effectively address these challenges, we need solidarity and collective action amongst progressive forces around the globe. It is also for this reason that elections in many countries across the globe are heavily contested along the issues I've just raised. These issues are contentious. These issues become a narrative in every part of the world. And our recent elections in our country are also not immune from this debate. The evolving international world order necessitates the strengthening of the non-alignment movement. South Africa's policy of active non-alignment is not reactive, but an affirmative agenda. It is not about being neutral or abstaining from world affairs, but putting forward a unifying agenda through a dialogue to achieve peaceful resolutions of dialogue of conflicts across the globe, and not to just side with those sides that are in great rivalry across the globe. As sovereign nations, we seek independent foreign policies aligning with our developmental priorities. This makes non-aligned countries useful mediators in conflicts like the one between Russia and Ukraine. The impact of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine has been felt globally, most notable on the African continent, as it has led to the significant increase of consumer prices, particularly of food and energy. This underscores the critical need for immediate global cooperation to end conflicts and address their current economic impact. South Africa coordinated the first ever peace initiative beyond the continent's borders when President Ramaphosa led a delegation of 6 African heads of state to Ukraine and Russia last year. In the emerging world order, We are more cognizant than ever before that economic prosperity largely depends on stability, peace, and respect for the rule of law. There can be no peace in any part of the world where people are being oppressed or struggling under the yoke of colonialism or occupation. We will continue to engage the world as equals. South Africa's non-alignment and universality posture will remain sacrosanct. South Africa proudly places Africa at the center of its foreign policy and is steadfastly committed to Agenda 2063. Our aim is to ensure the peace, development, and security of the continent, aligning with the aspirations of the Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. We can be proud of the progress we've made and confident of our future contributions. We will continue to deepen and enhance our relations with our African partners in the continent. We have established 46 structured bilateral mechanisms, 12 of which are at the presidential level. These mechanisms afford our country the opportunity to exchange views on national, regional, and global issues. We believe a stronger AU will have a larger and a more coordinated influence on global matters. Through the AU, we will ensure the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, a flagship project of the Agenda 2063, aimed at creating a single market, African market. The AFCTA will eliminate trade barriers and boost intra-African trade, advance trade in value-added production, and contribute to establishing regional value chains. The African Development Bank report on Africa Economic Outlook, published in May, assessed that Africa will continue to be the second fastest growing region in the world. The publication projects Africa will record an average of 3.7% in real gross domestic product this year, which is slightly higher compared to the 3.2% growth realized in 2023. This growth is a testament to the African continent's potential and our foreign policy positive impact in the African continent. This trajectory augurs well for our endeavors to extend the implementation of the AFCFTA. Our diplomatic missions on the continent continue to consolidate the existing economic ties and explore more areas to leverage the opportunities created by this flagship area. Through cooperation with countries in our continent, we hope to ramp up manufacturing capacity, infrastructure development, and building of regional value chains in the Southern African Development Community to support intra-Africa trade. Given the continent's abundant mineral endowment, we need to ensure that these resources benefit our people through beneficiation and local value chains. It is time for the continent to develop a common strategy for extracting and protecting our critical minerals, such as lithium. Africa is experiencing an intense scramble for these strategic minerals, and as such, a strategy will assist in preserving our supply and for local beneficiations. To stimulate economic growth, we must intensify our efforts to help South African companies and state-owned enterprises engage in meaningful opportunities in Africa. We are looking to strengthen our partnerships in Africa to address business challenges and create a favorable environment for conducting business by South African companies. We are pleased to report that South Africa has maintained its strong position as an investor in Africa over the past year, with over 450 projects in various countries. These achievements result from our coordinated approach and investment initiatives, and we commend the efforts of our development finance institutions, such as the Development Bank of Southern Africa and the Industrial Development Corporation. We will continue working closely with our neighbors in the Southern Africa region to expand and strengthen collaboration in areas such as oil and gas, grain and hydrogen, and water resources, as well as improve movements of goods and services. These initiatives are important to bolster our economy and improve the livelihoods of our people, while contributing towards the full attainment of the regional integration agenda. Work is underway to hasten the completion of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project Phase 2 to increase energy cooperation with Mozambique and Namibia, and working to implement the renewed Grand Inga Treaty with the Democratic Republic of Congo. We have established the coordination mechanism for economic diplomacy consisting of government departments and the private sector. This mechanism aims to facilitate cooperation amongst the relevant public and private sector stakeholders in advancing South Africa's interest in Africa. We recognize the importance of achieving lasting peace and unity in our region to unlock its full potential. Therefore, we are committed to actively participating in SADC peace efforts and support post-conflict reconstruction within our means. We must work towards fostering sustainable peace in the northern parts of Mozambique following the conclusion of the SADC mission in July 2024. Additionally, we'll maintain our engagements in peace and security efforts in the eastern parts of the DRC to support the country in achieving its development objectives. Our hearts goes to our brave soldiers who sacrificed their lives in line of duty in Mozambique and most recently in the Democratic Republic of Congo. These individuals were true peacemakers, and we honor their lives and services and sacrifice. We need to redouble our efforts to work in solidarity with those who are resisting occupation, oppression, human rights abuses, and injustices. South Africa will continue to act within global institutions to protect the rights of Palestinians in Gaza and ensure the fair application of international law for all. Notable, South Africa will continue to do everything within its power to preserve the existence of the Palestinian people as a group, to end all acts of apartheid and genocide against the Palestinian people, and to work with them towards the realization of their collective right to self-determination. And this is informed by application to the International Court of Justice and our continued participation in various multilateral platforms of the United Nations, including to continue to advocate for access to humanitarian aid for those people of Gaza. South Africa also led the referral by 6 states of the situation in Palestine to the International Criminal Court. We will continue preparing and managing the ICJ case against Israel and providing observations on the situation in Palestine before the ICC. As our foreign policy is anchored on our history of solidarity with those struggling against oppression and occupation, we will continue to support the people of Western Sahara in their quest for self-determination. We call on the United Nations to take urgent steps towards holding the long-promised referendum on the self-determination in Western Sahara, which is now the last colony left on the African continent, so that the Saharis can determine their own destination. Multilateralism is another key pillar of our foreign policy, and we have capitalized on our membership in the several multilateral forums to advance the African agenda and work towards creating a more equitable, rules-based multilateral system and a more just and equitable world. South Africa engages in international relations in accordance with its commitment to international law and justice, protecting human rights and advancing peace and security. South Africa has consistently advocated for the reform of global governance institutions such as the UN Security Council, which does not reflect current global political and economic realities and needs to be more representative of and responsive to the needs of the global South. South Africa has also capitalized on its memberships of BRICS and the G20 to place Africa and the global South on the agenda. As Africa's voice increases in the G20 with the inclusion of the African Union as a permanent member, the calls for a transformed global order must be amplified. South Africa hosted the 15th BRICS Summit, expanding full membership to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates, strengthening the African voice in BRICS. South Africa continues to play a central role in combating climate change and was instrumental in securing COP28 outcomes. As you are aware, we will be the host of G20 in 2025. And we are hoping that yourself will give good hospitality to all the people who will be joining us in our country. But we'll also use this as a good opportunity for integration, economic advancement, and also technological improvement for our country. This platform should continue to give us a voice to advocate for greater change in global affairs. As a country, we will continue to place our role in the global affairs and also ensure that the African continent becomes part of the voice that we take to the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the Deputy Minister and the Minister. Deputy Minister reflected on the rise of non-state actors as a global phenomenon. And here I just wanted to respond by saying the Department has embraced the role of non-state actors in foreign policy. And I think this symposium is but one example of such partnership, which we value quite incredibly as a non-state actor and as a think tank. The Minister, in his reflections, spoke to a lot of areas of our foreign policy. He did mention that the GNU Statement of Intent articulates that our foreign policy should be based on human rights, national interest.
All right, so that's the situation as it unfolds at that symposium. A number of issues to be ventilated from what the Minister of International Relations, Ronald Lamola, has had to say.